quack. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, where today we are going to be painting this little fella. He's done in pastels and there is a full tutorial. I've also provided the line art, which you should find the link in the description. So if you wanted to follow along, if you're new to pastels, you can totally do that. Or you can print the line art out, and if you're not someone that uses pastels, you could paint him or draw him or whatever you like. He was great fun to do. There is, I have to say, a big boo-boo in this video. I made a mistake and I've left it in because I want to show you why it happened and also how I fixed it. So I hope you enjoy. We're starting off at the line art and going all the way through to the end. So I really hope you enjoy. See you at the end. We've drawn our duckling. It might be quite difficult to see in this light, but we've got the duckling there. This was the picture that I printed with the grid-ons to allow me to grid it. And the reason that I did it in black and white is because I'm going to keep this nearby. So when I'm putting on my pastels, this will give me an idea of if I'm doing it dark enough, because I've got good contrast. So I would have my pad to the side of me with the original picture, and I can zoom in and get details. And I will have this one here, so that when I'm putting my pastels down, if I don't think I've gone light or dark enough, I will have this as a reference. It's always good to do that so you can see, you know, maybe you just need to darken some areas up a bit, like this bit here. I might not quite go so dark, and you know, it's just a great thing. So that's a good tip. So I'll have this one to the side of me, and I'll be zooming in when I get to, you know, I really need a close-up of seeing. If you haven't got a pad, because I know not everybody has, I used to work from my phone, and then my partner got me the pad, so it was a bit better, because my eyes, you know, I'm in my 50s now, my eyes are failing me a bit. You could always print off just a standard picture from your printer, you know. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. That's the way I do it. And now we've got our line art using the grid method, and I will do a separate video about the grid method. There's so many different ways that you can transfer an image that I think a separate video would be best for that. So I will keep this picture close by for when I am putting the pastels down. And I have taken out the darker lines in the grid because we don't want that in showing through in any light spots, so that I've just got the main image there. And now what I need to do is sort through my pastels, decide which colours I need. I'll probably use a few different brands of pastels here. I do have some Pastel pastel. I won't be using the pastels for this, purely because I will be selling the origin of this one, and they're not archival, you know, anything like that. So I'll be using the better quality pastels. The new ones, the Rembrandt pastels, not solely on here, but I will be trying those out, and I will be finishing off with my pastel pencils for all the little details. So I'm just going to sort through my pastels. I'll show you which colours I'm using, and that will be the next stage. Before I sort my pastels out, I will just add that I have taken this image into an editor and blurred the background because I really want the little duckling to pop. So I have just slightly blurred the background on there, so I just wanted to tell you that. Okay, so to create a blurred background, I am going to opt to use my pan pastels. I don't have many pan pastels. Some neutral colours that came in a little set. I'll put a link below where you can get those. They come in these little sets of, I think it might have been a little set of 10. And they come with the soft tools, the little blenders as well. So that's what we're going to be using for this blurred background. Okay, so I'm going to start with, this is my raw umber. We're going to use this for the dark colour, the darkest colour at the top, up here. So I'm just going to start blocking these colours in. This one is Raw Umber Tint. So it is here on that line there. Round about there. So I'm coming up as close as I can to where the duckling's outline will be. Get some of that colour in there. Okay. And then we've got a shape. It's here. Now I will probably come over the top of this with some soft pastel as well. So this is just to get the light's just gone off. Wow. That's weird. Gremlins in the works today. So as I was saying, I will probably be coming over with some soft pastels over the top. This is just to block the white paper out, and obviously the grids, to get rid of the grid. Now up here in this dark, you can see, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but you can see where I've erased the grid lines, and that's because this is so dark. So I'm going to try and remedy that in a moment. I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm just trying to get these shapes in that you can see on the blurred picture. Sometimes it helps if you squint to see the kind of blurry shapes. If you can't blur it out on the editing software, sometimes it helps to squint. Okay, so that's that colouring. I'm now going to come in with, this is natural grey tint. And I'm not cleaning off my tool between the lighter colours. I used a different tool for the darker colour. I will keep those separate. So I'm coming with some of this grey tint, light grey tint. And where the two meet, I'm just going to gently blend them into each other. And the rest of it's pretty light. Maybe put a little touch of it on this one and come over it with some lighter. This one is titanium white. Now in the picture where his little wing is here, it's very, very bright, almost blown out, so I'm definitely going to be coming over the top with some white pastel on that part. I just want to get that in, so I've got a base to work on. Blend into that edge there, and again over this side. And you can actually mix the pan pastels which is why they're more like paint than pastel. So I'm going to take some of this light grey and I'm going to, just in the pan, I'm going to mix it with a little touch of white. There's a little touch of green that's going to go in over this dark. Okay, I'm actually going to come back in with the neutral grey. I just want that to kind of fade into this darker area, but like I said, I'm going to come back on top with some soft pastels. There we go. Swap tools again. Come back in. Just put some white in there. And a touch of the grey. On top. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Actually, I don't think that's... Oh, yeah. So a little stack of 11 is how they come. And I just twist them off. They're really good to store like this because they take up the least amount of space. I think the more you get, I think they do actually do like a palette that you can pop these into, but I quite like them in the little stacks. So you get the hand pastels on top, and then you get the soft tools, the little sponge applicators in the bottom. So yeah, they're quite handy to keep stacked, take up no room, just stand them up. Right, I'm going to come in with my little set of unison pastels. I love these ones. These are the earth tones, and I'm just going to use these to finish this background. I'm going to finish the background using the unison pastels. They're lovely and soft, so I'll get a nice blend on there. I'm going to come in with the dark. Just darkening up some of that area at the back there. Come down a little bit further. Blend this all out afterwards. And I think this one would be a nice, to add a bit of this one in. It's nice warm tones. Get some of that put in there. You're probably wondering what this little part here is. That's actually another duck in the background. Let me show you in the picture. You see, it's like a little, there's another little duck behind him there. Obviously, I've blurred it out, so we'll know what it is, but you won't actually see it. I'm going to do something that I wouldn't normally recommend or do, because this is annoying me. Where I erased, it's not covering smoothly. So what I'm going to do to try and remedy that is I'm going to be using some of this. This is a fixative by Clairefontaine. I don't like using it, and I wouldn't normally use it, and I certainly wouldn't use it at the end of the pastel because it darkens colours. It disappears whites and it darkens colours, but I'm really not liking this mark I can see, and it's going to bother me so much that I'm not going to be able to carry on if I don't remedy it now. So I'm going to give this a mist of the fixative, and this wasn't planned, but you'll actually be able to see how this stuff works. Now to do this, I'm going to have to lay the work flat, so I'm just going to alter my drawing board. Okay, so this little nozzle, one says stream and one says spray. You want it on spray. Okay, now this is going to look terrible when I do it. Be prepared. Remember the first time I used it, I nearly had a heart attack, but I'm going to hold it up quite far, and I'm just going to give it an even spraying, even on this part down the bottom. That part's fine, it's just this part that's bothering me, but I'd rather give it all an even coat, and that will fix the pastel down that I've already put there, and hopefully it'll allow me to fill in these little white lines that are bothering me so much, and we can carry on. But it will fix it. It will mean that it won't smudge any further, but it will also allow me to layer some more pastel on top. And it's not that I filled in the tooth of the paper already, because I can get plenty more on there, but it's not catching in those lines there. So I'm going to give it a quick spray, and then I'm going to leave it to dry. It dries pretty quick. I'll leave it for about 15 minutes to make sure it's totally dry, and then I will come back, and hopefully that will have remedied that issue. I'm quite glad it's happened, because then you can see how to fix it if it does happen. But it was totally unplanned. So here we go. The reason it dries so fast is because it's got alcohol in, like the hand gel, you know, the gel we've all been using recently. That's actually shown those white marks. You can probably really see those now. But I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I'll come back and hopefully can fill that in and fix that. This is nice and dry now. And surprisingly, it's taken some of the lines out. So I'm going to see if I can now cover. Oh, that's better. Right, okay, that's remedied that. Right, okay, so those horrible lines have now gone. Just trying to soften that up a little bit. So I do still need to add some layers to the bottom part of this, and still need to put some green into this part here, so I'll do that next. This is a Rembrandt pastel. I'll get some green on this part here, which is obviously some sort of foliage behind him here. Get that in and smudge it to soften it. That's a lovely green, that one. Okay, and it kind of comes down. There's a touch of it there, and ever so lightly there. There's a little bit of this darker colour there, and then it kind of comes over there. And I think to even that up a bit, I'm going to use my artistic license and just add a little bit in there too. That's smudging. I use my tool to get in a small gap there. A touch more. There, that's better. Now I want a slightly lighter green. I'm just going to put a touch of that through the centre of what I've just put on. Maybe a touch of that lighter one just down his side of his face there. That's much better. Right, now I'm just going to try and soften all that up a little bit because we do want this to be blurry. Fab. That's probably as much as I want to do at the top there. This is this fleshy tone. Try some of that in here. That's nice. This one, it's not quite white. It's a lot lighter, but and it probably looks white, but it's not. Because this area is really light in the photo. So I just want to try and lighten that up a bit. That is better. Okay. I don't want to lighten this too much. Just a touch. Closer to where his little foot is, really. It's not a foot, is it? It's a flipper. Just like that. Okay. So although it's still blurry, it's a little bit more in focus at the front here. So I'm going to take the tools. Let's just blur that slightly more. Yeah, I'm much happier with that now. Okay, I did think that was going to be a bit of a disaster for a minute. And there's his little out of focus friend. Right, so I think that, I mean, I might fiddle with it a bit more, you never know. But for the most part, that is done. And now I can focus on the little duck. So I will pick out some colours. I'll let you know what I'm going to use on him. And we'll get focused on our little Clive. Okay, so this is what I've chosen for his body. You know, the fluffy, main part of his fluffy body. I haven't decided on the beak and the feet yet, but it's quite a nice colour range to get his underpainting done. I'll put that in. I'll then decide on the beak and his feet, and then it'll be time for the fine details. I'm going to be tackling this pretty much like I would a fur, because although it's feathers, it's obviously very fine feathers, and it is more like a fur, so I'm just going to tackle it in exactly the same way. In as much as I'm going to be laying down the darker colours that are underneath, then I'm going to be adding maybe a few more lighter colours to that for the underpainting, and then all the fine details of the individual feathers and fur. So to start, I am using a very dark brown, it's almost a reddy brown, from the Rembrandt Pastels, and I'm going to be starting up on his head here, where he's got this very dark area up on the top of his head. So I'm just going to start by getting that in there, and I need to be a bit careful because I've gone over a little bit, so I need to get the shape back in. I actually think more that sort of shape, so I might need to fill a little bit more of that background. I didn't quite go far enough, so let me do that first. It's actually a darker green than that. Just get that filled in so there's no gaps. Okay, so in with this dark colour, I'm going to bring that right down to his beak, and it goes right the way over the top of his head here, and it comes right the way down to there. So we can fill in that in with the brown, very dark brown. I'll work that in with my finger. Okay, so that's the first kind of section done, and this I will come over with a little bit of dark, and the final really touches on this part is the very, very fine fluff. It's for the most part is dark. So I'm going to put some more of this onto his back here, where his little wing is. Just trying to see, it's there. Get the shape in first, so that I can see where I'm going. So we are kind of going right up there to his head, and then down there. Let me actually come in a little bit there, and then down there for his little wing, which goes out there. Like that. And then it comes, I've confused myself there because I've put the marking in for the highlight. So what we actually want to do is come down there and then up, and then it's got a kind of a little bit that goes up like that. So get that filled in, and we're going to go in the direction that the feathers are going in. So coming this way here, even though this is all going to be blended in, it just helps me to remember which way to go. Give that a good blend. And that's going to give us a nice base to work on. It's covered up the white of the paper, and it's going to give us a nice base to kind of work on there. Okay, we've got another dark area just this side of his beak, and this is his beak here. And we've got some dark fluff there. It's not really much dark fluff there, but there definitely is some. Like so. Okay, now he's pretty dark under his little chin there. I'm not going to put too much in because I'm going to change the colour in a second. I just want to get that dark started under there. And then, of course, we've got his little eye. Which is going to be about there. And we're obviously going to add a lot more to that. Now, I think we can also use this dark for his little leg here, which is not quite as dark as his little flipper. That's the word. So we're just going to put some dark in there. We might put some over the top of that. We will put some over the top of that, but it's just to get that blocked in, really. Comes down to about there. His other leg you can't really see. You can only see the bottom of his flipper, and it's a bit of a strange shape. So I think that's going to do for that colour for now. And now I've got this darker brown. It almost looks like black. So that's the one I was using. And this is the one we're going to be using. And for this one, we are going to come over on his head again, and we're just going to add some of that on top to darken that up a little bit more. I think that was quite dark enough initially. So I'm just altering the colour by putting a little bit of this darker pastel on top. And that's the great thing about pastels, you can layer and layer and layer. As long as you've got too thin the paper, you can continue adding. Let's see, that's darkened that down a little bit. And now we want this mark by his eye, which is quite dark. So I'm just going to put that in. So that gives us an indication of where that's going to go. That comes down. So slightly like that. And then where his beak is, that's the top of his beak there, it kind of comes up into a curved kind of shape. Like that. Okay, I think here with his foot, we'll add a little bit of this dark just to one side of his flipper. And I think I'm going to get this blocked in with this dark, really, so that I can see where we're going with it here. And we'll put all the details on afterwards. You've heard me say before about the ugly stage, and this is most definitely going to be the ugly stage. Okay. I'm going to refine all this with the pencils after, so we're just really blocking it in. So I've got this funny little flipper this side, which doesn't even look like a flipper, but the reason I chose him was because he had his little flipper in the air. I just thought he was comical. So we're going to get that shape in. Okay, I still think it needs to go a little bit darker up here. It's quite deceiving. Sometimes it's not until you start working on it and something doesn't quite look right. But I mean, you can always adjust it, and you don't even have to do it the same colour, exactly. We go with this one, and here the fluff is gonna change direction here because that's on his little belly. So I'm just blocking this in. Don't worry too much. Get this under painting done. What we're really doing is creating a map for the top details. So none of those details are going to show very well if we don't get the underpainting in the right shades. So always darker. Even though it looks really odd when you're doing it. I'm actually going to put a little bit of this to indicate the way that fur is going on that dark part there. You like to try and mix the colours so that they're quite uniformed. So even though this is going to be underneath, you will see little bits and pieces of it. So I just like to try and get a bit of that worked in. It's not really changing the colour that much. It's just giving that fur direction really. So that's for my little map. I'm not going to work that in too much. And then this side, under his beak, so from under here, his little hair is going this way, all the way kind of down there, and also right next to it, up to the dark bit that we just did. I've obviously missed a bit of background there as well. So we're just aiming to cover the white and give us a good base for all our details. That's all we're doing. Okay, let's sort this background out quickly because I've missed a part in there. That's better. And a tiny bit of the green. By his head here. Which was that lovely limey? That's that one. That's that one. So there. So hopefully you can see, even if you do what you think is a mistake, it's very easy to kind of rectify it on the fly. And we can always come back in as a last bit of detail and alter that a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I just wanted to get up close to his head. Okay, let's have a try this. Now I've got a feeling this might be too light. Okay, that might be better. Right, so now we're adding on top So the fur he's got, I keep calling it fur, feathers that he's got are much smaller here. So we're just putting little kind of dots really, leaving some space in between so that you can see the underpainting. Okay, I'm going to come down and onto this next to it. I'm just going to take that colour right over there so that we fill in that white there, because that's a lot brighter there. So I'm going to fill all of that in actually, right underneath him. So that's that colour in there. And I'm also going to take this up onto his face because it is the same tone. So I'll get this put in to cover all the white. Great, so all that we've got left now is his beak, and actually that comes down a little bit further there. I'm just going to add a little bit of the same tone to this fluff that's on this side. Fab. Okay, so I'm going to continue down on his belly now. Remember to follow the direction of the fluff. It's not even feathers really, is it? It's just fluff. And as I get towards that bottom part, I'm going to be putting the marks closer together so we get a nice blend from one into the other. And you want to try not to go in straight rows because it will become fairly obvious. So even though you're going to be going in the direction of the fur, you don't want to do a whole row that way and then come back up and do a whole row that way, because it will really notice. Some parts of this fluff, I can't think of what else to call it. You can see more of the undercoat than others. So I'm just trying to be mindful of that. And here on his neck, it's kind of closer together again. Okay, now I'm not going to blend that because what I don't want to do is make all those marks disappear. So I'm just going to kind of press my finger into it to press it into the paper. Touch. Doesn't matter so much with the bottom because we're coming over with some more colours there. Okay, I think we can put a few more, a bit more of this here. I might have to add a little bit more dark after this, but that's fine, you can do that. And there are no rules. I mean, ideally you want the darker colours underneath, but there's nothing to say you can't come back in and put darker colours, you know, over where you need it, or if you've gone too much with it. So now here, I'm just going to put them a little bit closer together down there, because that is the side of his belly there. So this is his leg and this is his side of his belly. And once we come over with some lighter on this part here, that will really start to look great. So I'm just doing that a bit more into the there, so it's blended. It's not like a very, if you look here, there's quite a stark line there, whereas here I've just blended it a little bit more. So I'm going to do that here as well, just to get it going in to that bottom part a bit better. See how better that is? Now on this part, we have got some light parts like this here, between his little, I think that's his wing, or what will be his wing. That kind of meets up with that part there. And then on his back here, we're going to go into the dark, touch, and then we're going to come right down kind of his outline there, and part way onto his wing, okay. And then lastly, we've got a slither of what is the other side of his little face that comes down there. So we want to make sure we get that in. And he's kind of got this halo effect of fluff. So we'll put a little tiny, tiny indication of that. Like that. Probably bring that in a little bit further there. There. Really happy with that. So I think next we'll get the beak blocked in, and for that I'm going to use a dark grey. No, that is almost black. It's got kind of a blue-grey tinge to this this beak, so I just want to get some under colours going on there. Just refining the shape and getting the white covered really here. Okay, that little light, but very light blend, because I'm going to be putting lots more on there. And same with his foot. Get some of that grey on there. Like so. Just an indication of where that little, what am I going to call that? Obviously it's his flipper, but it's almost like this little tendon where his little claw comes out at the bottom. There. Touch in his eye. with that. Now we're going to come in with a slightly darker gold. Just testing some colours. Yeah, I think that might work. So just over this wing, I'm going to add some lighter. It's not much lighter, but we're building up the layers here. Okay, now I'm going to come in with the same colour we were using before. And I'm very lightly, this is a lot longer and softer here. So very carefully coming in with the very, very edge of my pastel. Don't want to lose that area there. Just put that back in. And we could do this with a pencil, but I just feel like it needed another kind of layer there. So it's a lot longer and a lot softer and finer. Again, I'm just pushing that in. If I was to rub, all that detail would be lost, which we're not aiming to do. Okay. Just refining some shapes here. That wasn't quite right there. I just want to alter his little friend that's in the background there because he's too light. He needs to be more Clive coloured. So I'm going to just make him more of the same colour. You really can't tell what it is that's behind him, and you could leave that out, I suppose, but I just thought it was nice to have a little friend in the background there. So I'm just going to sort of give an indication of where he is. So he's kind of here. I'm just trying to make him the same sort of tone, really, but obviously blurred out. I mean, you literally can't see any details at all. But I kind of know, I know he's there. So let's kind of get him in there. And maybe darken his face just a touch to indicate where his little face would be. Okay, now for the final layers, which are going to be possibly another layer of pastel. I'm just going to put some more pastel on just to make sure I've got the base colour absolutely right. And I can already see that here needs to be darker. So I'm just going to come in and darken that little touch because that's where his little head is. It's like a little shadow that goes onto his body there. So I just want to put that in. And I'm just going to darken this down again, touch there. That's better. So there's a more defined line between his body and his leg. And I need to alter this part here. Right, I think I'm going to come in with this slightly brown colour. I'm just going to come in and put a bit more of a thicker indication of those feathers there. Because it's slightly different there. And this means it's going to save me some work with the pencils if I can get this as accurate as possible. I'd rather get it in there. So I'm just kind of refining the shapes before I come in with any more kind of detail. That's better. And down his little wing is more like this colour here, so I'm going to try and lighten that up a touch. Okay, much happier with that now. Alright, so I think now I have to test a few of these colours. But essentially, he has a bright highlight that comes around his face. He's got a bright highlight around his back. This needs to be lightened up slightly. And he's got a bright highlight here, also just there where his little leg is. So I'm going to start on his face here. And I'm just going up a shade in colour so that it blends nicely with what is already on there. And I'm lightening that edge of his face there. Like that. There's a touch. Just at the top there on that side. And here, okay, so we've got to lighten up this area here. Just bringing a few of those onto there so it blends in nicely. Okay, the next bright highlight is down this edge. And it kind of tapers off into this area. There are a few lighter parts just in there. Again, we're going to come in with the pencils, don't forget to add the final lights and things. This is just to get the variation. And this from just under his beak, coming right the way down his belly. Now we're just going to add a few more to this golden colour that we've got here, just to make it all cohesive. And then a few just down that side where his belly meets his leg. That's looking better. Just a few more on his wing. Yep, happy with that. Tell you what I'm not happy with though, the shape of his marking on his head. So I'm just going to alter that slightly. I've got it too curved. It's more kind of straight. So I'm just going to alter that. Yeah, you probably can't see much difference, but that's really made a difference to me. In there like that. I'm going to keep hold of the dark, and I'm just going to come in on his little foot and get the shape in a little bit better. I'm going to put most of these details in with pencil. Much happier with that. I think while I've still got the dark in my hands, I'm going to just put some darker colour onto his beak here. Just there. And then here, his little nostril. I'm going to call it a nostril. And then around there. Now that's something else I've got to alter there, I've just seen. So that comes around. And then his beak. He almost looks like he's smiling. Kind of comes down there like that. And then he's got a little dark, ever so slightly dark patch there. And there. And up here. Okay. I'm just darkening the darker areas now. A few little dark bits in there. There's a dark bit there. There's a few spots of the dark in here as well. Yep, quite happy with that as he's under painting. Oh, he's so cute. I just think this shadow here, something not quite right here. This shadow. Okay, and as a final touch, I'm just going to lighten some areas on his beak. So that would be here. And he's got a very strong highlight. And that's going to give his beak the right shape. Kind of fans out a little touch at the bottom like that. And then there's a little highlight on the end. Quite happy with that. I mean, you could fiddle all day, and I frequently do. It's actually better when I'm recording because then I don't fiddle so much. So the last thing to do is some pencil for the finer details, and then it'll be done. That was much quicker than I thought it was going to be. I'm really happy with how he's looking so far. He's still as cute as he was on the photo. So we'll come back and we'll get some pencil details on. I'm going to come in with a range of coloured pencils. I've got a white, I've got a pale blue, I have a mid-brown, a golden yellow, standard black, light grey, it's like a reddy brown colour, and this is my Conti black because I find it's the blackest black, but I mean, you know, you don't need to have all of these as long as you've got something similar. This is for the final details, which won't take us too long, I don't think. And I've sharpened these in my mechanical pencil sharpener, which I find is the best way to do it. But as I'm using them, if they get blunt, I will not be sharpening them again. I will be using this little sanding block to just work the ends into a point if I need them. It wastes less pencil and you do get a really nice sharp point by doing it like that. It's great for fine details and things. So that's it, we're going to get on with the finer details. Now I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a highlight to his beak. And for that I'm going to be using this pale blue pencil. So he's got a highlight that comes just down his beak at the side here, so I'm going to put that in now. We might come over the top with a touch of white as well. And this light has got down the middle here. I'm just going to emphasise that as well with the pencil. So we can see that a little bit clearer. And also down the other side of his beak there. Okay, he's also got some blue colour on his little flipper. So I'm going to just come in and add a little touch of the blue to highlight that. Now, you don't even have to do the finishing touches with pencils if you don't want to. If you're happy with him, you know, finished in soft pastel, some people prefer that look. And not everybody will finish it the way I do. It's just the way I prefer to do it. I mean, to me, it gives it more of a finished look, but I think the soft pastel is a softer look. If you're going for fine detail, then really you need to add pencil over the top. So I'm coming in now with the yellow on his foot because it's got a reflection on his little flipper here, and it is more yellow than anything. So I'm going to come in with that like that. And I'm also going to come in with some of the light grey, and I'm just going to lighten the edge of that slightly there, and also here, and then also in the middle of that. That's kind of his, it's not a toe, is it? I want to say toe. Just there like that, and just on the edge of this one here as well. Like that. Now I'm going to come in with the black here, but not the blackest black. And we're just going to darken down and define the edges of his little flipper here. Like that. because he's got a little shadow that's running under his foot. Right, I'm going to make that a touch bigger there. To his eye, and I'm going to darken, around the tiny grey part that we put in earlier. And I think I'm going to come in with my blackest black for this. Darken that even more. That's better. Okay. I'm also going to darken this area with a few strokes. That's better. I'm going to come in with my white, and right in the middle of his beak I'm going to add a tiny little highlight, and the same here on the side of his beak and down his foot. Brighten that up a little bit, and just down the edge of this. I'm going to call it a toe. I like the idea that little ducklings have got toes, and that's just defining the shape of that there. I'm also going to use the white to tidy up this edge. It's another thing they're good for. Just tidy up like that. That's better. Right, I think that's okay. Right, where else do we need this white? So, on this very, very, very outer highlight, we are going to add some very fine white fluff. I'm going to bring that down his face a bit where that very, very light section is. And I'm going to blend it into, I'm getting lighter and lighter with the pressure, so it blends it into what we've already got there. And then I'm going to take a clean finger, make sure it's clean, and just blend that edge there. So that's brought out the highlight, made this area lighter, but it's blended it in as well. So we're going to add a few lighter parts here, just a few, don't want to lighten the whole area. And just under his eye, like so. Now I've got this edge here is the brightest part in the picture, so we are going to add some white fluff onto that. Like so. And same thing on this side, where his little leg is in the air. Just add a few lighter parts there and towards where his foot is. Down here on his belly, adding some more. It's just to help define those smaller areas and adding the tiny details that's quite awkward with pastels. So I'm just defining that other side of his beak there. Okay, great. So we've lightened that bit up there, and now just sweep that down there on that brightest edge, and I'm going to add just a few, just to make it all make sense, into this lighter fluff that we've got here. And we're going to go up here with a few, and ever so slightly taking it into that dark area. And I'm going to come in with that golden yellow, and I'm just going to put a few, not too many, just a few of the golden yellow fluff into this here. And I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do it here because we need this shadow. I'm going to do a little bit there actually, so I've come down a bit too far with that shadow. Alright, I'm just going to sharpen that on my little sanding block. Make sure I've got the sharpest edge I can get. And then I'm going to come back over and continue to put some of those longer fluffies in. Onto his little wing, like that. And maybe we'll yellow that up a touch there, and just there maybe. I think that is the yellowest kind of part of him. I don't want to go over that light area that we've just put in. Okay, and on the top of his head here, it's got those really wispy bits of fluff that is giving it this kind of haloed effect. So ever so lightly, I'm going to put those in. And then down the side of his face here, this is more yellow here. And then okay, I'm going to come in with my white and just make sure I'm happy with the amount of highlights I've got there. And finally, I'm going to come in with the black, and I'm just going to come right close to his face and just darken that under there to give that shadow. And same here, coming just under there, like that. Refine his beak a little bit. Now up to his eye, and he's got a little dark shadow just under his eye, and then define that top area a little bit more. There. And now I'm going to come in with a very, very light blue, and I'm going to put a highlight in his eye. like so. And I'm going to come back over that with a really sharp point and touching a tiny bit of white. There. Taking my dark or mid-brown. I'm just adding a few on his chest area here where it's darker. Taking the odd one. Taking the odd one into the lighter fluff. Same up here. Just take the odd one into the very, very light area. And then I'm just going to put a few in here. Honestly, I think I'm going to call that done. And there he is. Lovely little Clive. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're going to have a go. You don't have to do it in pastel. If you're not a pastel person, you could take the line art and you could paint him with acrylic or watercolour. He'd look just as cute, I think, in any medium. So yeah, give it a go. Let me know. I really hope you enjoyed painting along with me or drawing along with me, whatever you've done to make your little duck. And hopefully there'll be some more tutorials out very soon. If you haven't hit the subscribe button to get notifications of when those videos come out, please do that. And then you'll know as soon as the next one's released. See you soon. Bye.